I originally wore, I would call it an entry-level hearing aid. And I realized that after talking to a true audiology professional that there was something better out there. So I went for a test and I got an extremely comprehensive test from Dr. Elizabeth Welch, who's at Hearing Services of Franklin here. And she explained to me that there was a significant difference between the entry-level hearing aid that I had been wearing and the next step up, we'll say. At some point, I recognized that the technology in hearing aids made a significant difference. And so I wanted to be on the cutting edge of technology. I always have been. And I stayed on top of what was out there and found that this new open technology came out. And when it did, I immediately researched it and found out there was a significant difference between the open hearing aids and the ones that I had been wearing. So I couldn't wait to get into the open technology. It occurred to me that there was a major difference in technology in hearing aids. It wasn't just a speaker you stick in your ear. And I recognized that the clarity and the ability to hear in crowds and all the various things that people look for in a hearing aid varied a lot with better quality hearing aids. And so what happened was, when I heard that this new open technology came out, I couldn't wait to try to get a set of these hearing aids on and test them. With the open technology, the clarity of sound is significantly different than anything I've ever used. This is my third set of hearing aids, and by far the best. There's really no comparison to the first two. With the second set, I thought I had the best possible hearing aid you could get, but this new technology is simply amazing. The sound all around me is crystal clear, and when I focus on an individual, I can hear them in a crowd or one-on-one, even in an airport, I can hear them. The open technology has given me the opportunity to hear people very clearly in crowds and in group meetings, for example. Female voices that were soft were very difficult to hear. I would have to ask people to repeat themselves multiple times. I no longer have to do that. Take, for example, in a restaurant, a crowded restaurant, and I'm at a table with a number of different people, which happens frequently. If I was focused on one person individually in the past, I could hear them clearly, but if somebody started to speak to the right or to the left of me, I couldn't necessarily hear them as well or differentiate between the different conversations. With the new open technology, I can now pick up sounds to the left, to the right, or obviously to the person I'm already focused on and speaking with. In my world, I frequently walk through retail stores with clients, and sometimes those stores are noisy, and talking with a client was very difficult. They would be telling me very important business points that I couldn't hear. And I would have to ask a client to repeat themselves sometimes multiple times, which obviously was frustrating for them and very frustrating for me. With the open technology, I don't have to do that anymore. I can hear multiple clients in a building. For example, if I'm walking through a loud warehouse with forklifts, that sort of thing, I can hear clearly. Well, the open technology makes you realize that you were actually working to hear before the hearing aids. Once you have them on, before it was almost like you were having to squint your eyes. You were working to hear. You were moving towards people to listen to a conversation. You were trying to focus on their lips, and in my case, all that's gone. I don't have to work to hear anymore. I find that my stress level in business is actually reduced because I can hear everything that's being said now. So the end result is that I can actually remember more of what was said in a meeting because I'm hearing it clearly. The clarity is amazing, and It actually leaves you more refreshed and more confident when you leave a meeting. The technology of Open allows phone calls to stream directly to your hearing aids, and even in loud airport environments or busy restaurants, if you get a phone call, the sound streams directly into your hearing aids and it is crystal clear. Another feature of the telephone streaming is the ability to control the volume of the phone calls directly from the telephone. You can actually use the volume control that's on the phone to turn the calls up or down to your preference. It's seamless and very easy to do. It's just like using the volume that you would normally use on your phone, except for it controls the volume streaming to your hearing aids. One of the great things about the Open system is that when I rent rental cars, which I do frequently, in the past I've had to set up the Bluetooth in the car, which takes 5–10 minutes of my time to configure my phone to the Bluetooth in that car. I no longer have to do that. With the Open technology, I can simply get in the car and drive away. What I already have set up is the Bluetooth configuration to my hearing aids from my phone, and so the sound, like anywhere that I am, a restaurant, in a car, anywhere that I am, the sound automatically streams to my hearing aids, and the people on the other end, if I set the phone in the console of the car, have no idea that the phone is not up to my mouth. They can't tell that I'm not talking directly into the phone. When traveling in my car, the Open technology is very convenient. If I receive a phone call, the sound streams directly to my hearing aids, and I can simply lay the phone in the console and the person I'm speaking with can hear me crystal clear on the other end. I don't have to hold the phone up to my ear. People may wonder if people will notice their hearing aids. I find that they rarely do. If they do, occasionally they'll ask and admit that they have hearing loss themselves. Those are usually the only people that ask is what did you do, who did you see, and so on and so forth. And of course, I always recently, since this new technology Open has come out, recommended the Open to anybody that asks. Frequently people ask me about hearing aids and what I recommend that they get them, and they frequently say they're going to wait. They don't want to get the hearing aids. They're going to continue to struggle. And my suggestion to those people is don't wait. I waited for a couple of years, probably about 2 years before I finally got the hearing aids. And it was a shocking revelation to me that it was a huge mistake to wait. Get the help, get the hearing aids, you'll thank yourself. But there are so many things that these hearing aids will do, messages that can be sent to you from smoke detectors and doorbell rings and things of that nature. Besides the clarity of the sound, which is phenomenal, the hearing aids and the associated apps will allow you to do so many other things with these hearing aids. It's almost unlimited. There is a smoke detector and a gas detector now installed in my home that is internet enabled, and if that smoke detector or detects smoke or gas, I will get a message in my hearing aids regardless of where I am, anywhere in the country. If I'm in another city, it will tell me that my smoke detector or the gas detector has been triggered. One of the great things about the Opn technology is that I have a smart doorbell. It's internet enabled. If someone rings that doorbell and I'm sitting at my desk, I'll get a message on my hearing aids telling me someone's at my front door. I can either go answer the front door, or I can talk to that person remotely using a camera that's on the doorbell. It's very simple to set up, and it's a feature that's fantastic. It also works if I'm in a restaurant or out of town and I'm expecting a very important package, which has, believe it or not, happened a number of times, where FedEx will deliver a package to my front door. I can answer the door, talk to the FedEx driver, tell them where to put the package. One other feature about the Opn technology that's fantastic is I have a smart doorbell. If someone rings that doorbell, I receive an audible message that's streamed to my hearing aids from an app that's on my smartphone. It's very simple to set up. It tells me someone is at my front door. That happens if I'm in my own home, in my backyard, in a restaurant. Regardless of where I am, I get that message. When I receive that message, I can open that app on my smartphone and talk to that person at my front door. There are a number of different applications on my smartphone that work with the hearing aids. For example, I've set up recipes that will allow me to receive a weather report every day at 9:30. It tells me exactly what to expect for the day. Also, I have other recipes set up. For example, if my team, my NFL team or the college teams that I follow, when they kick off, I get a message sent to my hearing aids telling me that my teams have kicked off. When the teams finish their game and the final score is turned in, I get a report on my hearing aids telling me the final score of that game. There are so many technologies available with Opn as it relates to using your smartphone with the hearing aids. It's almost unlimited. Almost any app on your phone can be used to create a recipe to send a message related to that app to your hearing aids. It'll stream it directly to your hearing aids. For example, sports scores. If I decide I want a final score on any given game, I can set up a recipe that will send that final score to my hearing aids. It's very simple. It's not difficult. When I first heard about it, I thought it might be difficult, and it's not. A lot of people today are wearing Fitbits or paraphernalia that counts their steps, knows how many times they go up and down stairs, and in an effort to stay in better shape. Mine is associated with the Fitbit watch, and I have set mine up by creating a recipe so that it gets me up out of my chair. If I have been inactive, and that's a common feature of the Fitbit watch, but in this case, it sends it directly, streams it direct, the message directly to your hearing aids, and it's a reminder to, move, take action. So it's very convenient, very simple to set up. One terrific convenience about these hearing aids, the Opn technology, is that the hearing aids not only receive messages from the phone, but they also send messages to my phone. For example, there is a hearing aid battery monitor. So if I've got mine set up so that I get a message when my hearing aids tell my smartphone that my battery life is at 20%. I get a message that says battery life at 20% through my hearing aids, and I know to be prepared to take an extra set of batteries. An accessory that I have is an Oticon television adapter. Simply plugged into the television, it streams the sound from the TV directly into my hearing aids. One of the great things about that is that I can adjust the sound volume using the app independent from the television volume control. The people in the room can listen to the television at whatever volume they're comfortable with, and I can listen to it at whatever level I'm comfortable with, independent of the people in the room. This is all done wirelessly, by the way. There is no wires between the television adapter and my hearing aids. When I travel, I frequently use my GPS that's on my telephone. One of the things, if you're having trouble hearing, which I did for years, I couldn't really hear that sort of faint voice on that GPS. You know, it's on a speakerphone, and it really doesn't. The clarity of that speaker is not the greatest. So one of the terrific features about this is that it streams the sound from the GPS directly into my hearing aids. And I can hear every turn, every single signal that I get from that GPS. One of the things I enjoy most about the open technology is the ability to hear my grandchildren's voices. They're, you know, higher pitched, and that's, in my particular case, that's the hearing levels that I lost. Ladies' voices, very difficult to hear without the assistance of hearing aids, but in particular, the open technology has improved that to a level that I never had before. So I can hear my granddaughter's voice crystal clear, and my mother-in-law, who's aging, who speaks very softly, I can now hear her very clearly, and she's thrilled. I'm very close with my granddaughter. She's 2 years old. She's the light of my life, as well as my grandsons. One of the problems that I was having, though, was I couldn't really hear my granddaughter. Clearly, I couldn't discern. You know, at 2 years old, her diction's not the best. And with the open technology, the clarity has improved so much that I can now understand her where I couldn't before. I started to have problems with family members. They would be angry at me because the TV was so loud, and they would say things to me, and they would have to repeat those things several times in some cases. And I actually would snap back at them, tell them their diction was not good, that they were mumbling, that they're, you know, speak more distinctly. It's not me, it's you. After wearing the open technology hearing aids, it became crystal clear to me it was not mumbling. It was not the volume of their voices. It was my inability to hear what they were saying. We spend a lot of time with family. I have 2 grandsons and a granddaughter, 2 daughters, a son. They all have wives and husbands, and we have large get-togethers. And frequently when we do, we have either the grill's fired up, or we have a smoker, and you know, a meat smoker, and that smoker has a fan in it that's sometimes is quite loud, as well as all the other conversation. There's music playing, and it's difficult to hear everything that's going on without these open technology hearing aids. With these hearing aids, I can hear everything that's going on around me globally, if someone's talking to my left or to my right, and the interaction is much greater than it has been in the past. Music is a big part of my life. I actually, since I was a very young man, followed a number of different artists, and I have a gigantic music collection, really huge. Probably on my iTunes library, I have 14,000 songs right now. With this open technology, I am hearing things in music that I haven't heard for years. It's just an amazing revelation to me. Some of the old songs that I've listened to for many, many years, I can hear parts of those songs that I had forgotten about. The things that I wasn't even aware existed in new songs that I can now hear that I did not hear before, particularly in the high end. And it's been a fantastic bonus in addition to all the other wonderful features of how these hearing aids have changed my life.